Hi everybody, I'm Joe.
And I'm Mary.
And we're Book Buds. Today we are going to do the currently reading tag.
This was originally created by Charlie Ray, and we were tagged by Tibra's Den to do this tag. And it's basically about like your reading habits. So it's pretty easy to answer these questions. I like it.
I'll toast to that.
Toast. All right. So the first question, Joey, number 1.
Almost spit. Wasn't expecting that. Joey, okay.
Number 1, how many books do you usually read at once?
So it used to be just one, but now that I'm getting older and wiser, I could probably, I don't do it often, but I could read 2 at once, and then like I'm maybe listening to one. So we have a little bit more involved.
You're becoming more flexible. Your reading habits have changed.
You've noticed?
I have.
Mary.
My book bud.
That's exciting. What about you?
So I do like to read just one, and especially if I'm like really into it, I'll read it during my typical reading time of the day, and I might read it during my non-typical time. But other than that, if I'm not super duper excited about it, then I will have like 2 to 3 that I can read at the same time. And it's just because I keep them in different places and access them in different ways.
And you do different formats, right? Like the real book, the audio, the
real book, the book on my phone, the book on my Kindle. Yeah. So that's how I kind of like keep them separate.
That's cool.
Yeah. Number 2, if you're reading more than one book at a time, how do you decide when to switch to reading the other book? Do you read in a certain amount of pages in each? What do you do?
Well, that's why I usually don't do that, because I do like to focus on one book. But when I'm doing it, so I'm only listening to an audiobook in my car when I'm driving, and sometimes I forget to, because it's like a new thing for me, audiobooks. So sometimes I'll go on a fairly long trip, and I'm like, damn, I forgot to listen. That would have been a good 40 minutes.
Wasted time right there.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten in the habit of doing it at home, but I guess I can. So like sometimes I'll reserve a book just for like lunch break during the day. And then like at night another one.
Like if I have a book that is less intense, then that might be on my phone, and I'll read that one like on my lunch break, or if I'm going to a doctor's appointment or sitting at a kid's like practice game or something like that somewhere. So it's just something that I have with me. I don't set like a certain number of pages and switch between books. So if I'm reading at night, then that book's going to be in my Kindle, and I'm just going to read however much time I have to read with that one. That's how I do it.
That's good.
All right, number 3, do you ever switch bookmarks while you are partway through your book? It's an interesting question.
That's a very interesting question. I usually use the same bookmark like for years and years and years until it like breaks. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm mostly e-reading, so I don't use too many bookmarks, but strangely, I have bookmarks, but when I read to my son, I'll grab a tissue out of the tissue box and stick it in the book as the bookmark. And then when I'm done reading the book, I'm like, well, we got to blow our nose because we're done with the book.
And that works for you because you're always crying at books.
Right, but not with those books. But when I am reading a hardcover, I do have a metal bookmark that I like most. And because I don't read them regularly, I'll misplace that bookmark. So if I start my book reading and I have like the library receipt as my bookmark or a tissue as my bookmark, if I find my metal bookmark, I'll be like, oh, I gotta use my bookmark, and I'll swap them out. That's the only time I do that.
The tissue cracks me up.
It's a pretty common one for me because it's easily accessible. Number 4, where do you keep the book that you are currently reading?
It goes with me everywhere. I just take it with me everywhere that I go, because I'm one of those. I want it close to me just in case I get some unexpected time. And
I find that impressive. I've never carried a book like that, except in my phone, which I love because then it's with me wherever I go. But my main book is my one that's in my Kindle, and that just stays next to my bed at night, on my bedside table or my nightstand.
Nightstand.
This is a reference to our Anything But Books tag, because we said, what was on your nightstand other than a book? And people are like, nightstand? I don't call it a nightstand. It's a bedside table. So
bedside table.
Totally new for me.
Coffee table.
I love it. Anywho, number 5. What time of day do you spend the most time reading? Nighttime for me. That's my most time.
Me too, and I constantly fall asleep.
Yeah.
And didn't you say...
Last night I was having a hard time. I was falling asleep trying to read.
And then I'm like rereading every page, and it's like, oh, this is ridiculous.
That makes me mad. That's not usually the case for me. But...
Yeah, no, you're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I have to read sometimes.
Yeah.
Like that's
it's
like
the
often
quiet,
the time that I'm reading.
The quiet time. You set it aside for your book.
but I'm falling asleep.
I know.
It's very upsetting.
You gotta start a little earlier so you're not falling asleep. I don't know what to tell you. Number 6, how long do you typically read in one go?
That was very funny.
Because
I don't know what to tell you. Whatever, deal with it.
I wanted to answer the next one. That's why. It's related for me.
Good.
Number 6, how long do you typically read for in one go?
Oh. I mean, it all depends on...
I mean, if you fall asleep, then you can't. But...
falling asleep. I could go for a long time, but okay. I don't know, half hour.
Okay, I'm more like 2 hours. Yeah.
You go through books
If
a lot faster than me.
I can, let me think.
That's clearly why.
So sometimes I can read up to 4 hours at night. If I get really into my book and I start at the time that I want to start, my kids are like settled and I can read my book, I could get in 4 hours.
Wow, what time do you start on that kind of a night?
I'll start at 9.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and if I can't put down the book, I go to 1, which is like, I shouldn't keep going for that long, but yeah.
I'm so jealous. Like, I'll start, like, typically, like, 11.
Yeah. You need to start earlier.
I can't. I don't get home until sometimes
that's
9:30, 10.
That's true.
I'm just very jealous right now. I didn't realize this. 4 hours a night?
Well, it's usually 2.
On a good night? Yeah.
It's usually 2.
Wow.
2 for sure is my average.
I feel very inadequate. I have,
It's not a competition.
what do we call this? I have,
Book jealousy?
book reading envy. Or something like that. Page envy. There you go.
Well, I'm going to model appropriate book reading behaviors for you. Maybe you can change.
Oh my God.
Okay, number 7. Do you read hardcovers with the dust jacket on or off?
I leave them on.
Really? You don't feel like you're going to tear them?
No, I'm pretty careful.
I'm very
It's usually
protective of
okay.
covers. I take them off.
You take them off?
Yeah.
I like, cause like sometimes the underneath, well, often it's just plain and boring.
I know.
I don't know. I kind of like to look at it and see what the cover is. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the cover.
I do like the cover, but if I own it and I want to protect it, I take the cover off. Library book, obviously, it stays on. Number 8, which position do you mainly use to read? Does that mean like sitting or standing, or what does that mean?
Which position? I guess so. I'm usually on the couch.
I'm usually on my bed.
Do you sit up?
Yes. Oh, okay. So like this is interesting. I do sit up, and I have this ridiculous. I'll put a picture here of this telescoping arm thing that sits by my bed.
Yeah. Okay.
It holds my Kindle because I get headaches if I'm bending my neck in like the wrong direction looking at my book, so I can keep my head up and look straight at my Kindle with
So you're sitting up with with your back against the backboard or the wall.
Yeah.
And just chilling.
And I'm looking at my book on this weird arm thing next to my bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little strange. Does anybody else do that?
So you don't lay down and read?
No. I used to. I mean,
yeah,
but more recently I'm trying to take care of my headaches and not get them from bending my head that way. So
yeah, it's uncomfortable for me to lay down and read. Like sometimes if I'm really like tired, I'll lay down and read, but then I'll just when I'm really falling asleep. But it's like uncomfortable.
I would love to read on my couch during the day. I don't always have the time to do that. That would be preferable, but one day. Number 9, do you take the book you're currently reading with you everywhere you go? You sure do. And I do on my phone, if I have one there. Number 10, how often do you update your progress in the book that you're reading on Goodreads?
You could probably answer for me.
And you can answer for me.
I can answer for you.
God,
Yeah.
How often do I update my progress?
You just do when you start and when you end.
That's right. I never update my progress.
You're like, it's none of your business.
Goodreads doesn't need to know.
Cracks me up. And what's my answer, Mary?
Every time you read, you're like, let me update.
Do you see it? Do you see it?
Yes.
Constantly. If I read like 6 pages, I'm like, ooh, I wonder how much the percentage went up.
Yeah. So critical.
I'm crazy.
I love it. All right, well, our last thing is who do we tag? So I'm going to tag Jennifer Chastain. She's a newer channel that we recently found. So I'd love to see her answers to these questions. Who are you going to tag?
I would like to tag Barb's Bookland.
All right, and I'm also going to tag Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse. Tag Noah, our old friend there. So let us know what you thought of this video, how you would answer some of these questions. What are your reading habits?
And if you're enjoying Book Buds, give us a thumbs up.
And share us with your friends.
And subscribe to our channel. Book Buds! Cheers!
Keep tagging Book Buds. I love watching these.
Sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
Right. I wish they would really sponsor it.
Make it pretty.
You're pretty.
I am pretty. Okay, so number 6. How